Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, so let's see. Verse 3 we did last time. In the English translation is, if the life center, the Atman, were not within a body, it is obvious that that body will not continue to breathe. Naturally, the mantra becomes clear when it says that he, the Atman or Purusha, is the one who maintains the flow of the different vital airs through our body and maintains it alive and active till its death. So basically it was talking about the Panch Pranas. That, the pranas, and we went through it in detail, understanding that any kind of collection of thing is always for somebody else. And starting the previous than this also, the verses, that, hey, this our body is like a fort with 11 gates and all that. And fort is always built for a king. And here Atman is the king. And then it says that somebody might say, no, that's too hi-fi. I want to know, the pranas are there and the body is alive due to pranas. You say, no, वो प्राण का भी जो activation होता है वो पुरुषा की वजह से होता है. Okay? That's the one which activates everything. And then this is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita when Krishna Bhagwan in chapter 15 says that I am the one who digests all the food and, move all the pranas and all that. So that's what we did last time. So this one, let's see the verse and then we'll see what he's saying now. The verse 4 is Asya vistransymanasya sharirasthasya dehinaha dehad vimuchyamanasya kimatra parishishyate. Aitad. Asya is this, vistram samanasya, of him who is separated. And we will see that they're talking about separation. Sharirasthasya, who dwells in the body. Dehinaha, to the indweller, soul. So we're gonna discuss about what they mean by soul over here, because there's a lot of confusion. And when they say Atman, or English translation is soul, in Vedanta in different time, different context is used. Okay, we have to remember that. Dehat is from the body. Vimuchya manasya, of him who is freed from the body, जिसको अलग कर दिया गया हो, जिसको बोलते हैं. Kim, what? Here in the body. Here in this body. Parishishyate, remains. Kya shesh reh jata hai? As a question. It means Vedanta is asking you a question. अगर वो देही को देह से अलग कर दिया तो क्या बचेगा? तुमसे पूछ रहे वो, because we all have that experience, we have seen. Etad, this is verily that. So यही वो है. और यही वो है means जो नचिकेता ने प्रश्न पूछा था in the beginning कि क्या बचता है. So what are they saying over here? So Tejomayanand ji said that previous verse जब वो कर रहे थे ना, तो उन्होंने बोला कि जो ये वाला वर्स है ना, it's a little bit scary, he told us, like that he said. And why it is scary? Because it's talking about death, bodily death. That's why he's saying it's scary. Because even though we know everything, we still are scared of death, and we don't want our loved ones to leave us, or we don't want to die, or whatever you want to say. So here, so one is called the Deha, means the body, and the other one is indweller of the body. They call it the embodied one. That's another word they use. Or Sanskrit ka word hai Dehi, jo usme rehta hai. Here they are referring to the subtle body. Okay? Subtle body is also cannot function without that Brahman. So Brahman is a substratum. Without that, nothing can happen, obviously. But it is something like modern language में बोलेंगे hardware और software. सॉफ्टवेयर की बात कर रहे हैं. तो जब मेरा कंप्यूटर क्रैश हो जाएगा ना, तो मैं अपना सॉफ्टवेयर किसी और कंप्यूटर में डालूंगी. और आजकल फोन होता है ना, आईफोन, सब आई क्लाउड में रहता है सब कुछ, राइट? It's such a great example if you think about it. A phone कुछ खराब हो गया या मेरे को नया phone चाहिए. These days, you don't. It's so easy because you just download from that iCloud everything, and boom, you got a new phone. You got a new body with the same sort of software. So here he's talking about that software. So when that software decides to quit, so Upanishad says it's called separated or disassociated. Usme se alag ho jata hai. That's the word he used, this vimuchyate and all that. So he's saying that we also know that nothing remains because we have seen, death around us, And so that's what he's talking about. So Tejomayananji is said that no matter who you are, you can be young, old, man, woman, emperor, samrat, Chakravarti, you can be rich, poor, Miss Universe, he's saying, Mr. World, Sadhu, Sannyasi also, because it doesn't spare anybody. Wrestler koi ho, but मैं बहुत strong हूँ. Moment, that thing gets separated, they from it, what happens? He's saying, क्या हो गया सब सारी strength को, energy, beauty, talent, nothing remains. Okay, so he's saying that और क्या proof चाहिए? That they remember he's saying, Tejomayananji was saying we are going step by step now, because एक तरफ तो हमने ब्रह्मन के बारे में सब जाना detail में, but sometimes he said that we still cannot think of that Brahman. So now the Vedanta is taking you step by step. First it talked about the pranas. Then he said, no, pranas are by itself don't have anything. There is somebody moving that prana also. Now he's talking about the subtle body that, if that is gone, then the body has no meaning anymore. It disintegrates, And so the other way of looking at it is that everything appears beautiful in some body because the life is functioning through that. See, one of the things that we have a technical way to understand this, because this is a little bit difficult subject, so I'll try my best, that subtle body also, according to Vedanta, is made of subtle matter. It's still not consciousness. Okay? So, and the best example given is, you take ice cube, it has a shape and a form, gross body. That gross body is what we have, our Panch Mahabhut, that we can see, and kind of experience it with our five senses, right? Now you start giving heat to that ice cube. So it melts. It's become more subtle. Means, it doesn't have a rigid shape, but if I put it in a glass, that it will take the shape of the glass and things like that. So it's become more subtle, more pervasive. It'll expand. And then if I continue to give heat, it will become bashp, steam, and it will suddenly disappear. Does it mean it's completely gone? No, it is just, I can't see it now. That's called subtle. So when they talk about subtle body, that means with these five senses, I cannot grasp it, which is in the body. Okay? That's what it means. So for Vedantic purposes, it's still matter. So that's what is leaving. And that particular subtle body has the capability of having, kya bolna chahiye? Brahman shines through that. A reflected consciousness, right? Meenaji was talking about reflected consciousness. So that has a capability of doing, and once it exits, the capability is gone from the body. So that's why the body disintegrates. Okay? And the other way to explain, I'll try one more example that kind of connected with me, that the sun shines on everything on the earth. Right now the sun is shining over here. But only a mirror reflects it. Correct? Some shiny surface, in other words. It can be water, or it can be mirror, it can be very shiny metal. A mirror will be a perfect way of to reflect. You can see the image of the sun exactly as it is. But if you take a stone, it's not going to reflect it. So now take that example to the body. The body doesn't have capability of reflecting Brahman, but the mind does. Okay? So when the mind and intellect with the subtle impressions and all has entered the body, then the body also becomes alive because it's reflecting in there. So that's what they're talking about over here. So this medium through which the Brahman reflects is disassociated, is gone, and that's why the body has no meaning. And then जिस काम के लिए वो किला बना था ना, बोलना चाहिए, अगर राजा चला गया तो somebody was saying कि वो पुराने ज़माने में जब राजा कहीं और जाता था ना तो उसकी सारी प्रजा भी जाती थी उसके साथ, कहीं और जाके बस जाते थे वो लोग, और ये किला फिर छोड़ देते थे, फिर वो डिसइंटीग्रेट हो जाता था. वैसे ही just imagine this, ये जो subtle body है, it's gone to another killa or another body it has taken, and then that's why he was saying it was frightening, because of the, like all the negative things that we think about. So Tejamananji was saying that, one second, that sometimes, we learned about that, Atma is Ajanma, Avinashi, Nitya, infinite and all that. But he's saying majority of us are still identified too much with the body, and we have too much attachment to it, and it becomes too hi-fi. So that's why when people ask that, hey, what happens after death? So the Shruti or our Upanishad is not going to discount that. Huh? They understand that, and they're going to tell you, even in detail. So he's saying that people are interested to know, hey, after death, okay, now I understood there is one Brahman is there, which is substratum. Then there is a Jiva also is there, my mind and body, intellect, equipment with all the impressions. What happens to that? I want to know that too. So many people have hundreds of questions. When do you take the next birth? What happens to it? It's going to tell you in the next verses, coming verses. It will explain that. And Tejamananji was saying, most of the people are more eager to know that than Brahman and all that. That's why you have so many of these, India में वो astrologers वगैरह होते हैं ना, उनसे भी सब लोग यही ऐसे ही प्रश्न पूछते, कोई जाके ब्राह्मण के बारे में नहीं पूछेगा. मेरा पिछला जन्म, अगला जन्म, ये वो सब. And even in this country, I know that they have mediums, right? Where people go to that, hey, somebody departed in my family, I want to go and talk to them now in my subtle world and all that. So much business is there of all that kind. So he's saying people are more eager to know that. So we may be saying we are imperishable, Shashvat, Purusha and all that, and we also learned that Brahman is in the cave of our heart, but we still find it too hi-fi. Okay? So step by step we are going. So here it's going with this step now. So basically first thing is, hey, is there something other than the body and because of which everything is happening? Yes. And that is this subtle body. So this is a relationship between gross body and subtle body basically. So here obviously the subtle body is more important. That lives on. But once it gets dissociated, that's when the gross body is gone. So one point Tejamananji brought, and I think that it's a very good point for us to know. He said, okay, you have understood all these things. Huh? Now he's saying, suppose किसी की death हो गई कहीं, तुमको वहाँ जाना पड़े, वहाँ जाके ये ज्ञान मत बखारना शुरू कर देना. He said, because he's saying, even though it is true, you have learnt it, it is for you to understand for yourself. Don't start boasting and have this pride and arrogance, I know this Vedanta, I'm going to go and tell everybody, because that will be we already know, So I thought for us practical people, we need to know that don't go, in this class is fine, or appropriate place, but not that's not the appropriate place over there. And then he actually told about his experience. He's saying that this, subtle body is there, and the pranas are there, and how pranas are also important, and they get vitalized by that Brahman, right? If pranas are not flowing properly, forget about death and all that, फिर भी इतनी मुसीबत आती है, because it seems that he had a health problem. He's saying कि एक बटन भी नहीं लगा सकता था मैं. Later on he got over it. He was telling from his own personal experience that the pran vayu also needs to be functioned. So there is so many other aspects besides the body. So if somebody thinks body is the only thing, it's wrong, And then Vedanta is taking us even beyond pranas and subtle body and all that is going to take us. But he was just saying that we have to think about all these things, So he's saying we see those things in front of us. And then he also said that forget about just humans, even Pashu, Pakshi, all the living beings also go through the same process. He's saying that you may have this beautiful bird, कोयल बोलते हैं ना इंडिया में, कुहू कुहू करके इतना सुंदर गा रही है. The moment, its subtle body is gone it stops singing. What happened to all that? So he was just trying to bring that this phenomena is there in the whole world. It's not just with humans, okay? And then the next verse is going to be more like somebody might say, okay, this is also too much hi-fi for me, okay? Now Shruti is coming down further. He's saying that some people say, no, only because of pranas this body is functioning. Only because of the breath it is working. Ingoing and outgoing breath. Just see if breath gaya, person is dead, and that's what it finished, So then Shruti is going to say, no, that's not what it is, and it's going to tell you in the next verse. It's coming down to our level more and more. That's what this verse is. So any kind of confusion or question about that Deha, Dehi and Brahman? Because sometimes, see, this word Atman is used sometime for the body, sometime, very rarely, but it has been in this Upanishad also. So the context is very important. Sometime for the subtle body. Sometime they call it the ego center. And actually Swamiji's commentary is going to explain. It is like this idea of separatedness from Brahman. That's what causes this jiva to again and again take birth. So you can call that delusory idea of ego center is also called Atman. And the fourth way of looking at it is the reflected consciousness. It's called Atman. So when the Brahman is expressing through a particular jiva, sometimes it's called Atman. That's why it's called Paramatma and Atma. So
also explain to me, because that's what I was wondering right now. See, when we talk about Atma, in that we call ourselves as being reflected, there are a lot of human beings we see, and we talk about, is that a separate Atma or not? No, it's like we talk about sun and the reflection and in different parts. So if we are like that, it is the reflection that one is Jiva Atma in us, this is the I-ness and all that. The one is the Atma. Is the Atma is the reflected consciousness are we talking about? Or is it the Atma, pure Atman that we are talking about?
Okay. So this becomes a little bit technical. It's something like this. The sun is shining over there, but the light is falling everywhere and then we are seeing the reflected sun everywhere. That reflected sun, how would you describe it? Will you call it is the real sun or not? It's not, on one hand.
No.
But without the real sun, you are nothing. That reflection. So that's how you have to understand this. So basically what they call about जो permanent मोक्ष की बात करते हैं ना, एक तो है कि जीवन मुक्ति, that while that I merge with the Brahman and then my body still continues according to my prarabdha, then when it ends, then I merge. So जो वो ego खत्म हो गया ना, समझो completely. So the 5 elements has merged with the 5 elements. And the subtle body merges with the subtle part of the elements. That's it.
No, that is true. Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
then,
I-
so
So when body is gone, that means at the time of death, the elements just merge.
no, the gross elements have merged.
The gross element.
Yeah, the jiva is still continuing. The ego center is still continuing. It just has no use for that particular body because whatever it came to do is done. And body का machine तो temporary है ही. कितना भी
Right.
कोई वो
वो तो
साइंस वाला कर ले हंगामा की वो ना 500 साल जिएगा उसके बाद तो मरना ही है 100 साल जिएगा I don't know whatever. So I think what people get confused is with the subtle body thing. So what happens to the subtle body? Subtle bodies also merges with the subtle elements.
Yes, that is true.
So
No, but my question only was, I don't know, I shouldn't be confused, but I am, is about the reflected consciousness, the pure, because one way I see is there's nothing else but, Brahman or Atman that alone is. And this is all superimposition on it, on that. One way I understand that. Then secondly, then who am I? If I'm the reflected consciousness, I'm a superimposition on the Atman. I'm supposed to be Atman alone. Then the body is it's a reflected consciousness. So in me, where is the Jivatma? Then is that the Atman or is that that's where I'm confused.
Okay, just think of it this way.
Okay.
The sun is shining. Everything that the light is sun only.
Yes.
And if something is reflecting as a sun, in one context, it is the sun only.
Okay, because without that, it cannot.
Yeah. So it's called relationless relationship. I know it's complicated. That's why the Vedanta is a subtle subject. You got to do a lot of contemplation. So basically what it's saying that in that example of the bucket, like our teacher used to explain like that. See if you connect with it. Okay, fine. Instead of the mirror, we are talking about buckets of water, right? So buckets are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the water is very, very calm in there. And no dirt is there, it's not moving the water, and now the sun is up in the sky at midday and it's reflecting straight and it's showing the reflection. Think of a pure mind like that. Okay, so now you want this water and wants a moksha, so you basically what you're doing, you're throwing the water out. So what happened to the reflection? You can say it merged back with the original, whatever you want to say, it's not there anymore. That's
so
what is
so what is Jivan Mukta then? He's realized, so he's in the body, he is still a superimposition because the Atman is here. He's merged back, but he's still in the body.
Because the way they talk about is that once that's a little technical. I'll try to see if I can explain. So the reason we take the body because we have impressions and we want to experience, vasanas are there, right? So there are different packages of vasana in our whatever iCloud में तुम सोच लो, उसमें से एक पैकेज खाली fruitify हुआ अभी, right? Because we might have other that we might take other janmas to do that. Now once they fruitify, you're given a chance also to burn everything.
Yes.
As well as all karmas are born. So now once it gets fruitified, you have to finish that prarabdha.
Yes.
You cannot. It's like a arrow which is shot from the bow. You cannot take it back, right? True. So that has to finish. But the only thing that's going to happen, more arrows are not going to be shot because your ego is finished and you are merged. So then you will not take new janma. But that's why the people who are jivan mukt also, they also finish this life. We have a lot of self-realized people. They don't suddenly curl up and die because they got self-realized. No, they will finish this life. Right. But when they will not take another birth. Mm-hmm. So that's all it is. That's what they say. That, okay, you have got Jivan Mukta, you already merged, but because your prarabdha, that package was open, you got to finish this. And the other example that our teacher gave was, you have a car moving at a high speed. Now one wheel has come off. that wheel will suddenly not stop. It has this momentum. It's going to go, but its engine is not on it now. So it will, eventually it will stop. I thought that was a great example she gave.
Yeah.
That, okay, this life, we got to still finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question, comment? Yeah. Sushilji?
Yeah, after death, does a subtle body merge with anything, or does it travel by itself to the next body?
See, what you're saying about merge, this is what happens. We don't have a fixed machinery to express it. So that's why it is still in a subtle form, but it's there. It has a separate identity. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's what I thought. I heard before, I thought we were saying that, yeah, it merges, and I thought it goes separate by its own path.
Yeah, it goes separate. And in Bhagavad Gita is going to come, he's saying that जैसे जो हमारे impressions है ना लाइफ के, तो बोले कि जैसे हवा गंध लेके जाती है, वैसे हमारे impressions सटल बॉडी के साथ जाते हैं, you know. And the karmas का उन्होंने कुछ ऐसा example दिया, I don't know which Upanishad it is, that how do the karmas go with us. So he's saying that, you know, if there is a cow, it knows whose its bachada is. There could be 100 babies over there, cow babies, it can identify. So he's saying that your subtle body knows the karmas, it will attach to it and go. It just, you know, that kind of, so they give different examples that, but I think that what you are asking, Sushil, sometimes, you know, people say, oh, you know, uska swargvas ho gaya, he's merged with God. Actually, that's just a way of saying, but his subtle body is still there. He is not yet merged. Unless he gets moksha, he's not going to merge.
Okay,
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, Miss, the 5 elements, the body merges in the 5 elements.
Yes. So a gross part of the element. For example, like, it's a scientific fact also. When the body disintegrates, what happens to the body? The water will go into the water. You know, the minerals will go back to the minerals. You know, that kind of thing. The heat will be part of the heat of, you know, like 5 elements. Space ko to kuch hoega hi nahi, because space doesn't move. So gross body merges with the gross elements, you can say. And here the subtle body is still there and is going to take another life and another until it gets moksha. When it does get moksha, the subtle body will merge with the subtle elements.
Thank you.
But it has its own identity because...
Yes, it does.
Udana, you know, we talked about the 5 pranas. Udana is the one, it's called the fire also. That is the vayu that takes the subtle elements with the ego center, with the subtle, is especially mentioned the ego center, with the subtle elements, and it flies off, takes it out. Why is it called fire? Because when the person dies, it takes a fire out, that means the body becomes cold.
Right. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. So looks like you did some research about that.
I know, I did.
And that's good. Yeah. So Udan Vayu. Yeah,
Udan. So that it takes out, and with the ego center, so that it told that, because, you know, when we think of so many things, sitting here, I can think of million things, but I'm still sitting here, not there or anywhere else, not doing anything else. At that moment, it packs up everything of the subtle body. And now it will travel, because now the container's gone, broken.
Yeah.
Now it can travel.
It's on the road now. Yes.
It's on the road.
It lost its house.
Wherever it wanted to go, it will go.
Correct.
At that point, it is free to go. And that's what it means. And that means fulfilling vasanas again. That's what it amounts to.
So
the body.
That process that you're describing, I remember in one of the, thing that Swami Chinmayananji was describing this, and he said, just like we pack up our house when we have to move to another city, like that, the Udan Vayu is like the packer. It will pack everything, the subtle part of it, and he say, okay, quit. And then, you go according to your vasanas.
Yes.
So you say, okay,
And
my
that was the
strongest
threshold.
vasana. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, that's good,
So
Meenaji.
that means that if you have a lesser amount of vasanas compared to the other people around you, you have a shorter path to the moksha.
Of course, because that's the whole path of karma yoga is to reduce your vasana, nothing else. Gaining the purity of mind and burning and roasting the vasana. That's the whole purpose of our life.
But that particular vasanas are described or probably I would say described in a different vasanas what we go through in the current day-to-day life, because that vasana is different than what we are talking about in Vedantas, right?
No, it's the same. Vasanas are nothing but my desires. Like
Yes.
suppose, coming back to the example that Meenaji gave, I quit the body, but I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want another house. My ego is merged with it, so I don't need anything. That's what it is. The only reason we take birth is we have these impressions. I want to experience this. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to become this. That's why we take again and
So
again.
a two-part question. So if somebody born with a very strong vasanas because that is the way they, and all of a sudden something happens in their inner consciousness, and then they really go into this completely detached manner, and just their vasanas has reduced substantially during that period from like 90% to almost 10%. If that person is closer to the moksha?
Of course, it's going to talk about it in
90%.
it's going to talk about it in chapter 6. That question is coming. Arjuna is saying, okay, I'm doing all this path and I'm doing meditation. I've gone and my vasanas are reducing, but now I die. Does that mean that everything got wasted? Krishna will say, no. Calm down. Nothing is wasted. You will start from where you ended up. So what if in your example, if your 90% of the vasanas are finished, next janma you will be born in an environment that you'll quickly take to this path. Maybe either is it rich and people where you don't have to work for money and you will straight go into that path, or in a yogi's house. And that's why you see some of these people who are saints and sages. If you read the biography, like Yogananda or Vivekananda, from the bachpan unme vairagya tha, or Ramana Maharishi, because they fit in that category that you are talking about. So he was explaining that nothing gets wasted, and the fact that all of us are studying Bhagavad Gita, that's also, we have done some punya karmas in our previous life. Otherwise, it's not going to come to you. Yeah. And you see, sometimes people come and they just quit. Some people keep at it. All that is connected with your whatever your vasanas are. Yeah.
So the last question is that, so those at that level when vasanas are listed 2%, 1% relative to the others, is what happened to the subtle body? Still it will
continue unless it is 100%. It will continue until it is 100% gone. Yeah. So that's why we were talking about, and then since you joined late in our group, in chapter 2, there was a whole thing about what Arjuna is asking this person whose desires are gone, who is established in that, how does he behave in this world? What does he do? So basically, the Krishna Bhagavan says he still continues his life. He does everything for Lok Kalyan. He's not doing anything for himself now.
Okay.
And then later on, he may come back to help somebody. But then his birth will be conscious birth. हम लोग की तरह नहीं. हमारी वासनाज ने हमको धकेल दिया किसी नए जन्म में. So that's what. So there are so many different points. I'm sorry?
No, I agree with it. Those enlightened people like Swami Vivekananda, Paramhamsa, they don't live long they don't need to live that long in this
No,
world. I think
they finish their whatever.
They
Yeah.
left their body.
How much they accomplished, my God. Vivekananda ने वो 38 years में क्या नहीं किया. And the other, Shankaracharya, only lived 32 years. And he's all the Shankar Bhashya. So, and they are on fast track.
they reincarnated just to give to the people, not to gain anything from. They already had gained 100% out of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows all those. But basically, it's like they were very close. And they maybe even, we don't know all the, like Chinmayananji used to say,
Right.
you have to be self-realized to recognize another self-realized person.
Right.
Yeah, we are not qualified. So we don't worry about other people and what they're, but this is what I have to do. It's a very
I
personalized
agree.
journey. Yeah. So
Thank you.
yeah, sure. I think that was a good discussion that we had. Shall we read? It's not much. The Swamiji's commentary is just a couple of paragraphs. So let's read that to complete this. Any volunteers to read?
Oh, yeah, I can read.
Great. Go ahead, Nareshji.
When the Atman who dwells in the body is separated from the body, when he is freed from the body, what remains here in the body, thus verily is that.
So remember, he's asking a question. There's a question mark. What remains here in? So that is very important that Shruti is asking us the question because they know that we already know nothing remains.
The Atman upon whom all the Indriyas depend and who is the controller and director of all the vital airs is the king of this city of 11 gates, our body. Just as when the beloved king leaves the capital permanently to stay in a different chosen capital, all his subject people follow the king into the new capital. So too, when the Atman departs from the body, all the activities of that physical body seemingly depart with the Atman.
So we saw this whole thing that, once a subtle body is gone from there, everything disintegrates, yes.
When once the Lord quits the body, however great the man might have been while living, his body starts to decay and perish until ultimately it reaches the dust from which the material of this body had come.
So another example I was thinking of is like कोई कार है, हाँ, उसका तुम इंजन ही निकाल दो तो फिर वो कार डिसिंग्रेट पड़ी जंग लगी जाएगा उसमें, वो मूव ही नहीं होएगी. Same way. So because engine has the power to move that. So it is actually 2-3 steps in there, but here for simplification they said it because that engine is run by the gas. Gas is like that Atman, okay? But only the engine has the capacity to let the gas flow in there, correct? Everywhere else it's not flowing. So that's how we have to look at it. There is that Brahman is there. Brahman reflects in the subtle body. Subtle body is in the gross body. That's why the gross body is functioning.
Matra prisishtate. What remains then? When the Atman has departed from the body, what remains in the body? With this question, Shruti confronts us with the sacred truth that there remains practically nothing upon which we may glorify that empty shell, the dead body.
So, I mean, we know. They're just asking you a question and we already know the answer. That's why the Shruti decided to ask that question. क्या बचता है? हम लोग को मालूम है कुछ नहीं. Because when a moment a person, is dead, everybody is very eager to, because we know that the body disintegrates. So you want to cremate or do whatever, fast, because it's a fact of life that, when the indweller is gone, then the body has no use. So it's just telling you, again, taking you from the very bottom up, that there is something does remain after death, and it's taking you to the whole process. So here we will stop. If anybody still has any question about this or comment or want to add anything, we have a few minutes. Okay. So I'll close the class. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.